Hello, and welcome back. So today we are going to be hatching the beautiful little Colossus dragon, because I need the hatchery space. So, he's got his beautiful little blue egg here. I really do like this dragon. It's like a blue little birdie singing to me. I'm sure he's made of, like, gigantic stones, so I don't think he'd ever be able to fly, but he's definitely a cool-looking dragon nonetheless. So the Colossus dragon is an especially ancient type of dragon. According to legend, they came to life when a sorcerer enchanted a temple full of statues. Perhaps that explains their thick skins. Exactly, like I was talking about, some sort of weird Stone Age technology or something. But either way, he's a metal, earth, and wind epic. Probably wouldn't suggest using him on a team. His main use is going to be in that Divine Chest collection. But I am happy that we finally managed to get a hold of him after so long of wanting this dragon. I mean, I just want more dragons that have these, like, beaks, because I'm a massive fan of dragons with beaks. Look at him! Oh! Look at that little cutie. Again, he just reminds me of, like, a baby crow or something. I don't know. Even though crows don't have beaks like that. I don't know where I get it from, but it's just birds, I guess. But you know, we are going to level him up to level 20 for those DCPs, because we definitely need more of those for the Pinata Dragon. But look at him! Oh, he's a very cool looking dragon overall, but at least now we do have more hatchery space, which means that our breeding den isn't going to be as clogged now, which means that we can get more event points, because we are going to be continuing on with the castle event in a couple of hours. And ignore that dragon in there doesn't exist yet. You haven't seen it. So in the Divine Allies event, I am on to level 4 now. I got pretty lucky with a couple of the keys, because getting it on the 3rd chest for me is actually pretty rare. But level 4, it is a little bit expensive. Each of the ways that you're going to go cost between about 2,300 to 2,700. Like, I believe the right-hand side is 27, the one up here is 27, this one up here I believe is quite a bit more expensive. But the cheapest one that I found is the one in the bottom left-hand side so far, which is about 23. So we are going to head down there. And a majority of the fights on level 4 are shadow fights, which is probably going to be good for quite a lot of people, because most people have a shadow dragon. Not everyone, but most people do. So it's going to be good for us, but we can make our way down here, down into this side, and do this fight as well, which you'll see. Plant, shadow, very good. I enjoy that very much whenever I get to see those two elements combining for castle events. But we do have the DML wiki updated with all of the levels and what elements are required for each levels as well. So now we need an extra 300 points, which we can get from doing battles, which is pretty good, and collecting some more gold from our habitaties. Oh wait, we can get some, we can't get any more collect food yet. I don't think I'd already collected it, but apparently I have. So let's go ahead and collect as much of this gold as we can get, and you know, I don't think we're going to be getting the key on our first chest, but I guess it's worth a try. Might as well try it than not try it after all, right? So it's very tedious when you don't have VIP on and you have to actually go ahead and manually click all of these habitats, but you know, I guess that's what I have to say because I'm lazy when it comes to pretty much collecting anything in this game. So don't blame me. But anyway, we've got enough to actually open up this chest. So what is it? It's almost definitely a piece of Erlang Shen. There you go. Just in case you were curious. So that is the first way down here. I'm actually going to go sort of around to the right-hand side here so that we can try the right-hand side, then go up. And probably to the top first, although I'm going to do a double checking on this left-hand side, because there's an extra tile that you won't have to go through if you do the correct pathing. Which, a single tile isn't worth a hell of a lot, but that's still like half of a quest when it comes to next level. So it's a decent amount that you want to be not spending where you can. And obviously the cheapest route is to always do the battles instead of skipping the battles. If you don't have the elements to do the battles, that's gonna suck. But I mean, most people should already know at this point that castle events are going to require quite a wide range of elements, so if you don't have a wide range of elements at this point, kind of shooting yourself in the foot quite a bit. And what I mean by that is, if we take a look at the event page here, like I said, level 4, we have these elements here, so a lot of shadow, a lot of light, which is good. And so we shouldn't have any problems. Level 5 is also a lot of shadow, a lot of light, but it's sort of cutting it down to 2 to 3 elements only. And then level 6 is cut down to 2 elements, pretty much every fight apart from a couple of them, which are 3. And like number 2 is light only, so it's mainly light that you're going to be seeing for the grand majority of the event, but light and shadow is what you're going to need. We won't have access to divine and legendary in level 6 as well, so if you don't have a light or a shadow, rest in rip is all that I have to say, because if you want to know how much it actually costs per level with doing or without doing the battles and having to skip them, well, the maximum amount of jade souls, as they call them, that it could cost you if you do all of the wrong routes and things like that on the final level is 97,000. And if you want to know how much 97,000 is, that's pretty much the entire event. Like, if you were a max amount of event currency that we could earn. And you're not going to be finishing the event if you're getting anywhere near close to the 97,000. If you do it all properly and do it with the minimum amount, don't even ask, I don't know. But with the minimum amount required, that would be at 34,000, which is still a hell of a lot, but a lot less than 97, which is 3 times that amount nearly. So at the end of the day, you can see all of the total Jade Soul costs for the whole event here. Level 4 does go up quite a bit from level 3. Level 5 goes up pretty much the same amount, and then it just goes up majorly between level 5 and level 6. And on top of that, you also want to be making sure that you're using the right food, which I've gone through before. The hour-long food is pretty good, 2-hour food is pretty good, and the 6-hour food is really good if you also want to actually be producing quite a lot of food at the same time. Breeding, which is the main question for a lot of people. How do you hit the max amount of event currency while you're breeding? You won't with a single breeding den, because it's going to have overlaps. Like, the 8-hour breeding time VIP that you get from Shadow and Fire, being the demonic, for example, is 416. At this stage in the event, on level 4, we only get 300 event currency, which is kind of weird, because normally by level 6, don't we make about 600? So I'm not sure how exactly it's going to work out by level 6. But that is what you should be expecting, but 416 is what I normally go for, but if I do have any Dragons of the Week to breed, I just breed those instead, because I don't care enough. You're not going to be fully optimal with the breeding unless you've got 2 breeding dens, so if you don't have 2 breeding dens, don't worry about it. Just do whatever you want, as long as it's not breeding for a legendary or anything like that, because if you try and breed for the Cancer Dragon, for example, like I did, you'll end up clogging your breeding den for like 2 days, and that will screw over quite a lot of points that you can get during the event. So do not do that. I mean, it's obvious advice, but you'd be surprised just how many people still do it, despite knowing how bad it is for their overall event progress. Like, some people go, oh, well, I'm not going to finish it anyway because I've never finished any previous events. It's like, yeah, you probably were breeding the wrong stuff, clogging your breeding den, clogging your food, things like that. Maybe you just weren't bothering to log in. Maybe you genuinely were too busy. It depends. But a lot of people, they end up logging into the game really frequently, but they just don't do the event stuff that they need to. Like, it's not impossible for free-to-play players to beat these events. It never has been for castle events. It's come really close before in certain events, like the original, which was a hell of a castle event, as in literal hell, not as in woohoo, that was exciting. But since then, they tend to be a little bit better with how easy or manageable they make the castle events. Obviously, that could change at any time, but all of the previous Divine Event castle events have been doable. I'm sure they'll try and make all the future ones the same, because if they made it literally impossible for free-to-play players to actually win in the castle events, when the rest of their divines from the divine events are all essentially pay to win, I think a lot of people would just genuinely stop playing at that point. It's like the only thing that a lot of people can get is the castle event dragon, and then they make that impossible to get as well. Yeah, I don't think people would take too kindly to it, to say the least. So if you're someone that's always been like, oh, it's impossible to win, blah blah blah, I've been through it a lot, but it's just not true. It is difficult. I'm not going to say that logging into the game sometimes 8 times a day just to do the castle event is something that they should be encouraging, but that's the way that the game's always been. You know, they want to force you to be in the game as much as they possibly can, because if you can force people to be in the game for special events and things like that, people are less likely to just get bored and leave. Because DML has a really, really low player retention rate. That's why most people that you see that try the game, they play it for about a week to 2 weeks, and they just stop playing immediately. Which is the same for a lot of games, but DML is a lot worse for that, and the retention rate is super low. So, anything that they could do to force people to stay in is going to help the developers to make sure that their game doesn't die out as quick. Which is essentially what the castle events and Dragon's Delights and things like that are designed to do. So, the more that you're aware of that, and you know how it actually works, you can decide whether you think it's worthwhile to be doing it yourself. I mean, is it truly worth it at the end of the day? Is anything worth it? I don't know, you could get very morbid with the thought process. But you know, a lot of us are just stuck in DML at this point. It's like a legal drug. That's what loot boxes basically are anyway. Just legal gambling for children. Which is debatable whether you think it should be. I don't think it should, but, you know, I'm always gonna voice my discontent with the stupid loot boxes in the game. Like, remember when we had the Zeus chests where it was guaranteed after X amount that you were going to get it? We sort of have that now, but to a very different extent, as in you have to get all of the bonus pieces for that to happen. Like every 50, what is it? Every 50 tickets you get bonus pieces for the Chrono Pangu, for example. But you need so many of those to actually guarantee that you get the dragon, because you need 300 of them. So if you're going to try and do it for free, it costs so much money, because if you, technically, you could go every single chest without getting a single piece of Chrono Pangu if you were the unluckiest person in the world, and then you would have to fork out thousands of dollars to actually obtain it. Obviously, for most people, that's not going to be the case, but there's the potential that that could happen if you're just unlucky. So, I'm sure it could happen. Anything unlucky or lucky it's happened before. There's too many people in the world to say that it wouldn't happen, so I'm sure it's happened to someone. Which is quite disappointing that just because they got unluckier, they have to put in so much more effort. But that's just DML as a whole, right? Breeding, all of the random RNG in the game. I guess we're just used to it for now. But regardless, you know, that is my current castle event progress. We can't really do too much else at the moment. So, again, I'm going to head on over to the right-hand side rather than going immediately left. Main reason for that being that I want to head up to the top. So I'm just going to do it in a little round right-hand side crescent instead. You'll understand what I mean if you don't get it later on, but regardless, for now, I am going to leave you to it. I'm sick, so I don't want to speak for too much longer. But for now, thank you for joining me. Until next time, I will see you then.